The first thing you have to do is produce energy and not rely on OPEC. These guys were calling Russia last week to send us oil. They were calling OPEC, all of the OPEC nations. We need help, we need oil. And then he dips into the strategic reserves that I built. They were empty. And I built, and he's taken it, here we go again. And that's always been a political football. Other presidents have done that too. Very few presidents have filled it up, but I filled it up. They weren't going to make us non-energy independent. We were energy independent first time in, you know, they say 78 years, but I think forever. We had so much energy, we didn't know what to do with it. Gas prices were $1.87. And now they're going up to $7, $8, $9.
Well, it's funny that you say that
watch.
because 1 month after he tapped the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, gasoline prices are down 10 cents. You actually filled up the reserve.
For decades, our reserves, and these are strategic reserves. This is a big deal. This is meant for war. This isn't meant to get the prices down a little bit.
My sources that President Biden tomorrow is expected to announce a further release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in the range of 10 to 15 million barrels, according to my sources. Now,
it's good to see you.
Thank you, Becky.
Anthony Blinken pointing to this, but it really comes after comments from President Xi himself, just talking about how reunification is coming, and they'd like to do it peacefully, but they will do it by any means necessary.
Well, you've got these two autocratic leaders, Putin obsessed with rebuilding the Soviet empire, Xi being reconfirmed for another 5 years in the party Congress this week, has been very clear that he thinks acquiring, invading, taking over Taiwan is his life goal. And I think we have to realize that while most of the world's focus has been appropriately on the Russia-Ukraine challenge, the circumstances with China, not only vis-a-vis Taiwan, but frankly in terms of the technology competition with China, I think that's the issue of our time.
I would say, what is our official policy on this? I know what our official policy is, but comments that have come from President Biden have confused and muddied the waters here.
I think the president, this is one of the ones where whether this is Joe Biden being Joe Biden or whether this was part of a grand strategy, I don't know. I do think it is made clearer. I think we clearly maintain the one China policy, but the president's comments at least have been more than a brushback.
And it's happened more than once.
It's happened more than once.
So what do you think? Would we actually
I think you need a level of strategic ambiguity. What you do not have with Taiwan is that set of neighbors that will come to Taiwan's assistance the way there was with NATO vis-a-vis Ukraine. Obviously, South Korea, Japan, Australia, other nations in the neighborhood, but there's no kind of formal alliance that would be NATO-esque in that part of the world. Again, though, I'm concerned about potential military activity, but I'm also concerned about the notion that if Xi put an economic blockade around Taiwan, when we still are dependent upon Taiwan for every one of our leading-edge semiconductor chips. Now, we passed a law recently, the CHIPS bill, to bring some of that back to America. But in the interim, Taiwan's where all of the cutting-edge chips that we buy for any advanced material in this country.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And guys, what do we know? The NWO caused the problem. Wait for the reaction and run in with the solution. And we know the oil reserves under Trump was built for this reason. Now they're tapping it. And in 12 months when we really need it, it's not going to be there. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And not only do we have the energy crisis, but we also are going to have the chip crisis. Now we know strategically Biden is moving chips over to America, which is going to hurt China and the emerging markets. And China has stated no one is going to stop them from taking Taiwan. And guys, we already have the drums are beating, but that will give America the entry point to the WW3, the big distraction that they need in order to build a fourth industrial revolution. And remember, guys, wars are no longer going to be physical. They will be strategic, along with the robots, algorithms, and drones, cyber attacks. And it'll all be controlled by the NWO. But we know the sheep are going to fall for it because they fall for it every time. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, It's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Are we getting close to the point of a Cold War in this situation with what we're doing with saying we're not going to allow chip sales or semiconductor equipment to be going back and forth?
This chips is not the first domain where are brushing up against China. I was a former telecom guy, and what was the wake-up call for me on this was 4 or 5 years ago with 5G, the next generation wireless, and Huawei, where you had a Chinese company not only dominate the field, a national security risk, but you also had China then setting the rules, procedures, protocols for that emerging technology. I think what we've got to do, and what I'm doing with the Intelligence Committee, which is the last functioning bipartisan committee on the Hill, is to say what are other areas where we cannot allow China to dominate. 2 areas we're looking at right now: synthetic biology and advanced energy, and all across the realm on the supply chain in both those fields.
So what do you do to stop them?
Well, I think what we may have to do in this country is it will not look exactly like the CHIPS legislation with massive amounts of government intervention, but I do think there needs to be an agreement, not just from the United States, but with friends around the world, where we cannot allow China to dominate these new emerging technologies. I think synthetic biology is one. I think energy from fusion to supply chain around electric batteries. I think artificial intelligence, quantum computing. There's going to be a series of areas where we, with our friends, are going to have the government play a role to make sure we maintain the technological advantage.
What does that mean for international businesses, U.S.-based businesses that have operations in China?
I think if you are not having a plan B, then you're not being responsible. I know starting back in 2017, the Intelligence Committee went out and did a series of what we call classified roadshows, where we briefed industry sector after industry sector about both the intellectual property theft, the fact that China does not play by the same set of rules that we play by. And, at first there was some pushback. Post-COVID, we've done another half dozen of those. There's not a business sector in this country, including even academia, that doesn't realize that the kind of notion that the more we bring China into the world economy, the more they're going to be like us, just has not proven to be the case.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.